The Alliance Council chamber buzzed with suppressed amusement as Captain Darius Cole stood at the center. He looked like a relic, just like the ship he represented. His Earth Fleet uniform had sharp lines, but bore the insignia of a generation past. The spotlight cast a pale glow around him, making the chamber's vastness feel like a courtroom. In a way, it was. From the elevated perches of the council, alien faces, scaled, feathered, glowing, and eyeless, regarded him with poorly veiled derision. Some exchanged comments in low clicks and hisses. Others didn't bother hiding their laughter. "You may proceed with your presentation," said the Drenthari High Chancellor, his voice filtered through multiple tonal layers. He gestured with a translucent appendage toward the projection pad. Darius activated his wrist console. A rotating hologram of the ISS Aegis appeared behind him. It was unmistakably archaic. The ship's hull was bulky, laced with heavy armor plating. Weapon pods jutted at odd angles. Its propulsion array resembled outdated plasma burners more than anything in modern use. "This is Earth Fleet Designation OB4, the Aegis, reactivated under Directive Genesis," Darius said, his tone flat. "Genesis?" The Zulmek ambassador laughed, an unsettling hiss. "Is that what you're calling your scrapyard salvage program now?" Chuckles and snorts followed. Darius kept his posture rigid. His orders were clear. Present only the visual. Say nothing about the classified systems. Let the Alliance think what it wanted. "You'll find," he said, "that its age is not a disadvantage." That was all. He deactivated the holopad and stepped away. Back aboard the Aegis, Commander Elise Rao met him on the bridge. Her eyes flicked to the incoming Alliance message log. They mocked it, as expected. "Let them. Our orders stand. We deploy at 0600 to the Harrow Expanse." Scouting mission? That's the official story. The Harrow Expanse was a border region, full of gravitational anomalies and unstable subspace pockets. Perfect for hiding. Or launching an invasion. The Aegis departed quietly. Its crew, all handpicked, moved with purpose. The ship groaned at first, its older systems waking up, but its core, its real core, was unlike anything else in the Alliance. 3 days into the mission, they found them. 62 Varn Dominion warships, cloaked within the interference field of a collapsed binary. "Command wants us to maintain distance," Elise read from the encrypted channel. "Observe. Do not engage." Darius looked at the tactical display. "That convoy from the Eridani Belt is heading this way. 30 hours out. We can't wait. We're one ship." Exactly. They won't expect it. The Aegis shut down all non-essential systems, drifting into the field of debris that littered the expanse. Half of it came from battles long past. The ship became a ghost, indistinct against the background. In the weapons bay, engineers initiated the startup of the Kessler coil, Earth's most dangerous secret. "Compression sequence initiated," called Chief Engineer Brem. "Capacitor holding. Spool at 94%. Darius stood on the bridge, calm as the grave. "Target the Varn Command Dreadnought. Wait for the drift alignment." They waited. The silence pressed in. "Target aligned. Compression 100%. Fire." Nothing visible occurred. There was no beam, no explosion. One moment, the Varn flagship existed. The next, it didn't. Sensors couldn't even pick up residue. "Target has vanished," Elise confirmed. Stunned, for several seconds the enemy did nothing. Then, chaos. Without orders, the Varn fleet began erratic maneuvers. Some ships opened fire at phantoms. Others broke formation. 2 collided, trying to reposition. Darius issued the next command. "Engage secondary weapons. Adaptive burst pattern. Focus on destabilizing their flanks." The Aegis emerged, firing precise salvos. Its outdated-looking weapons hit with shocking precision. Within minutes, 5 enemy ships were destroyed, 3 disabled. "Begin evasive maneuvers," Darius ordered. "Phase shift cloak on interval cycling." The ship blinked in and out of visibility, confusing enemy targeting. After 20 minutes, the Varn fleet began to retreat. The Aegis didn't pursue. "Damage report? Minimal. Hull integrity 96%. Coil cooldown cycle active. All systems nominal. Good. Set course for the Proxima relay. Let them know what happened here. The journey back from the Harrow expanse was silent. No one on board spoke much. The adrenaline had worn off, replaced by a sobering weight that sat heavy on every shoulder. They had done the impossible. One obsolete Terran warship had scattered an entire Varn assault fleet. But what came next? On the bridge, Captain Darius Cole sat in his chair, eyes on the stars ahead. Commander Elise Rao approached quietly. Proxima relay in 3 hours. Long-range scans show we're clear. No pursuit? None. Varn's signatures fell off after the 5th engagement. They're gone. Darius nodded, but said nothing. Chief Engineer Bram's voice crackled through the intercom. Captain, Kessler coil is in stasis mode. Cooling cycle proceeding nominally. No sign of quantum shearing or spatial residue. Understood. Log it. The bridge was dimly lit. Lights set low in case of ambush, but no enemy came. Just the soft hum of the engines and the occasional chirp of systems running checks. Elise lowered her voice. They're going to call us liars. Darius gave a humorless smile. Of course. The Aegis was supposed to be a diplomatic escort, not a ghost ship armed with a prototype weapon. Then we'll show them. At 0300 ship time, the Aegis docked at Proxima Relay Station, a mid-tier facility orbiting the edge of Alliance space. As soon as they connected, Alliance Command demanded a full report. Darius and Elise stood side by side in the debriefing chamber. Holograms of the battle played overhead as stunned officers watched in silence. When the footage of the Kessler coil's discharge played, showing the flagship vanishing without a trace, a collective gasp ran through the room. Admiral Nira of the Alliance's tactical division leaned forward. Her eye stalks twitched. That technology, it is not in any database. Where did Earth get it? It's experimental, Darius said. Authorized under Directive Genesis. That directive was archived 50 years ago. Reactivated 6 months ago, Elise added. The Council was not informed. You deliberately withheld advanced weapons from your allies. Darius folded his arms. We revealed it when it mattered. When the Alliance was about to be blindsided by 62 Varn warships, the room went silent. Rear Admiral Valex of the Zellan Republic broke the quiet. Your actions saved tens of thousands, possibly more. Then our mission was a success. Afterward, the crew was confined to the ship under security watch. Alliance intelligence agents arrived to inspect the Aegis. They found nothing. The Kessler coil had already retracted, shielded by adaptive plating and signal dampeners. Earth had designed it to vanish after use. Weeks passed. Rumors spread across the fleet. A human ship had erased a Varn fleet with a single shot. Some said it was impossible. Others believed it was a warning. Then the official summons came. Captain Cole and his senior officers were to report to the Core Council on Helium Prime. When the Aegis entered orbit, it was met not with scorn, but with curiosity. Drone cameras followed its descent. Civilians on the planet below watched live broadcasts. The joke warship had become a ghost story turned legend. The council chamber was standing room only. Darius stood where he had months before, the same projection of the Aegis spinning above him. But this time no one laughed. The Drenthari Chancellor rose. Captain Cole, do you deny you disobeyed direct orders? No, Chancellor. I accept full responsibility. Then why? Why risk the wrath of the Varn? Darius looked out across the assembly. Because they weren't preparing a training drill. They were mobilizing to strike the Eridani belt. Millions lived there. Colonies that couldn't withstand a surprise attack. You expect us to believe the Aegis stopped them alone? Believe the footage, or don't. But the outcome remains. They're gone. A murmur rippled through the chamber. The head of the Etherian delegation, an ancient species known for their wisdom, stood slowly. I believe the humans. They acted when we hesitated. That must not be punished. There was silence. Then the unexpected happened. Applause. The applause faded slowly, but its echoes lingered longer than expected. The Core Council, rarely a place for public displays of emotion, was now completely silent. The weight of Darius Cole's words and his actions hung heavy in the room. The Drenthari Chancellor tapped his datapad. Council consensus will be postponed. In light of the revelations, the Security Subcommittee will conduct an immediate investigation into Earth's directive Genesis and the Aegis. Captain Cole, your presence will be required. Darius bowed slightly. Understood. As he and Elise exited the chamber, reporters swarmed. Questions flew about the battle, the weapon, Earth's military protocols. They said nothing. A small escort led them back to the Aegis, where the crew waited anxiously. Elise looked to the engineering crew huddled near the main console. Status? Chief Bram replied, all systems green. Coil is dormant. Camouflage netting engaged. We're on ghost mode. Keep it that way, Darius said. He stepped into his ready room where a message from Admiral Patricia Hayes, Earth Fleet Command, waited. Cole, expect political blowback. We anticipated this. What you did proved everything Genesis was built for. Stick to the facts. Don't give them the specs. Earth retains sovereignty. You are authorized for discretionary operations. P.S. The Aegis has more fans now than you realize. The people are watching. Darius leaned back. For all the scrutiny, he wasn't alone. Later that night, Elise joined him for a private strategy session. There's movement on the Varn border, she said, flicking a display to life. Red blips danced along a curved sector. Intermittent drives flaring near the Meridian Expanse. Could be scouts. Or worse, we could ask for orders. No time. If they strike again, it'll be fast. They're testing our reaction speed. Then we preempt. Darius nodded. Get the crew ready. We leave at 0600, but the Council can deliberate. We act. The Aegis detached silently from Proxima orbit and made a quiet burn toward deep space. Within hours, it passed into blind territory, a stretch of interstellar void where Alliance sensors faltered. Chief Bram ran diagnostics on the Kessler coil. Spool time is holding at 4.3 minutes. We're green for another strike, but we should expect higher particle deviation after discharge. The tech's wearing fast. We won't need another shot, Darius said. Not unless we walk into a trap. 3 days later, they reached the Meridian edge. What they found was worse than expected. A Varn logistics fleet, dozens of lightly armed transports, escorted by 5 warships. They were building something. A gate. A massive ring structure designed to fold Varn reinforcements into Alliance space. That ring will open a corridor directly to the core worlds, Elise whispered. Not if we shut it down first. The crew began preparations. Missiles were loaded, plasma banks warmed, stealth fields activated. Darius stood before his officers. No broadcasting, no distress signals. We strike, disable, vanish. We don't win by surviving. We win by making them afraid to try again. Everyone nodded. The Aegis glided in. The Aegis glided into the debris-laden void with the patience of a predator. Shields were down, engines hummed at a whisper. The ring gate spun slowly in the distance, its skeletal frame illuminated by fusion construction lights. Varn transports moved in a deliberate ballet, unloading modular parts, stabilizers, and crystalline computing nodes. Above them hovered the escort fleet, 5 warships arranged in a tight lattice formation. No sign they've detected us, Elise reported from her console. Sensor range ends 10 clicks short of our position. Just the way we like it, Darius murmured. Chief Bram appeared on the bridge, wiping his hands on a grease-streaked cloth. Coil is armed, but not yet charging. You give the word, we begin compression. Just remember, firing it again will shorten its operational lifespan, maybe by a lot. We're not here to waste shots, Darius replied. We're here to cripple. The targeting officer, Lieutenant Syed, piped in. If we use the coil, we can take out the central control node for the gate. Without it, the folding corridor will collapse. But it's got a narrow window, less than 4 seconds of alignment. Darius nodded. What about a conventional strike first? We distract them, split their escorts. Elise rotated her tactical map. It's risky. Aegis isn't built for extended firefights. We strike fast, we strike quiet. All right, Darius decided. We go in silent, plant a data spike on one of the transports, gather telemetry on gate activity. And if needed, we prep the coil for a final disabling strike. They moved. The Aegis crept through the void, using drifting ship husks and nebular shadows as cover. The crew operated in practiced silence. When the ship came within 4,000 meters, Lieutenant Saeed launched the spike drone. The small device zipped out, invisible against the starless backdrop, and latched onto the underbelly of a Varn transport. Spike attached, Saeed confirmed, receiving telemetry, uploading to tactical. On the screen, real-time data rendered the internal logic of the Varn gate: power flows, calibration pulses, resonance chambers. They're days away from activation, Elise said, eyes widening. But once it goes live, they could bring in a whole invasion fleet in under an hour. Darius made his decision. Arm the coil. Beginning compression cycle, Bram responded, voice heavy. The Aegis shifted position, aligning just behind a drifting hull from a centuries-old skirmish. The ring's control node glimmered faintly, nestled near its apex. The targeting reticle pulsed. Compression at 62%, Bram announced. Suddenly alarms blared. Saeed cursed. We've been pinged. Passive scan from one of the escort ships. Too late to retreat now, Darius snapped. Go loud. Launch countermeasures. Keep us stable. Energy beams lanced out from one of the Varn warships, slicing the void where the Aegis had just been. Shields flared as the human vessel veered hard, its stealth netting collapsing. Compression at 91%, Bram yelled. Hold her steady. Fire, Darius ordered. The coil unleashed. Again, there was no explosion. No sound, just erasure. The gate's central control node blinked out of existence. The light along the ring collapsed, sections freezing in motion, as if someone had cut power to reality itself. Node destroyed, Saeed confirmed. Gate structure destabilizing. A second later, the Aegis was hit. The impact wasn't direct, just a glancing plasma beam across the dorsal fin. Alarms screamed. Sparks erupted from a rear console. Hull breach in Deck 6! Contained! Elise shouted. We're not staying for round 2, Darius barked. Evasive pattern Beta 12. Bram, prep jump coordinates for fallback. We need 20 seconds for spool up. Then let's make those seconds count. The Aegis wove through the wreckage, venting plasma to mask its drive signature. Behind them, the Varn fleet scrambled, confusion evident. The ring gate flickered one last time before the outer frame began to implode, caught in a gravitational feedback loop. Coordinates locked, Bram shouted. Engaging now! The stars warped. The Aegis jumped. The Aegis emerged from hyperspace into calm blackness. No pursuit, no Varn scout ships. Just the silence of deep space and the aftertaste of another victory that shouldn't have been possible. Jump complete, Bram reported. Coil cooling at 47%. Hull integrity down to 91%. Port side plating will need reinforcement. Darius exhaled slowly, then glanced at Elise. Casualties? None. A few minor injuries, mostly from shock waves. Deck 6 is sealed but stable. Damage control is on it. Get me a status report from every section. Let the crew rest in shifts but keep everyone ready. We might not be alone for long. Elise nodded and walked off. Darius stayed on the bridge, watching as the stars crawled across the viewport. He didn't believe in miracles. The Aegis had survived this long because of its people, its ingenuity, and its secret edge. But that edge came at a cost, and the Varn wouldn't stay humiliated for long. So, within hours, encrypted messages flooded their relay from Alliance Command. Your unauthorized strike has disrupted Varn operations beyond the Meridian Corridor. Alliance intelligence requests full sensor logs. Core Council demands a formal explanation. But another message came, this one from Earth. Good work, Cole. Intercepted Varn comms show panic. They're deploying their inner fleet to defensive positions. You flipped their entire strategy. Come home. It's time the Aegis was seen in the light. The order was signed by Admiral Hayes herself. Set course for Earth, Darius said. The journey took 5 days through fragmented corridors of safe hyperspace. During that time, the Aegis underwent hasty repairs. Crew morale was sky high, yet there was tension underneath. a feeling that the next move would be bigger than anything before. When they finally dropped into Sol system, the welcome was unexpected. Hundreds of ships greeted them. Not warships, not scouts, but civilian vessels, freighters, orbital platforms. People had come just to see the ship that had erased a fleet. As they passed Luna, ships peeled away respectfully. A path opened straight to the Earth orbital station, Unity Prime. "We're being hailed by Unity Command," Elise said. "Put them on." The screen flickered to reveal Admiral Patricia Hayes, stern-faced, silver-haired, surrounded by a half-circle of senior Earth Fleet brass. "Captain Cole, welcome home. The Aegis is cleared for Docking Bay 1. There will be a debriefing followed by a ceremony." Darius raised an eyebrow. "Ceremony, Admiral? You'll see." As the Aegis docked, the crew stepped out to applause. Real applause. Human officers, engineers, even alien diplomats were present. There were signs, holographic displays, cheers. For a ship once mocked, it was a surreal reversal. Later in Unity Hall, Darius stood beside Elise, Bram, Saeed, and the rest of the bridge crew. The walls around them displayed highlights of the Aegis's missions: the strike against the Varn dreadnought, the erasure of the gate, the evasive maneuvers that defied doctrine. Admiral Hayes addressed the gathering. "When Earth first joined the Alliance, we were viewed as inexperienced, unrefined. Some even said we were backward. But Earth didn't adapt to expectations. We redefined them." She gestured to the crew. The Aegis project was a gamble, an experiment in asymmetry. It succeeded, beyond expectation. This crew, this ship, turned the tide of a war that hadn't even begun. And for that, Earth honors them today. A moment later, the hologram shimmered. In place of battle footage appeared the newly minted commendation: the Stellar Cross for Tactical Innovation. And Darius Cole's name was at the top. After the ceremony, the Aegis crew was granted shore leave for 48 hours. They scattered across Unity Prime Civilian Dome, enjoying open skies, fresh meals, and something rare: admiration. Children asked for autographs. Civilians offered to pay for drinks. Holographic murals of the Aegis lit up storefronts. But Darius couldn't rest. In a secure underground facility beneath Unity Command, he sat in a dark conference room facing a dozen representatives from Earth Fleet, Alliance Defense, and Intelligence. Admiral Hayes led the briefing. "Captain, what I'm about to show you hasn't been cleared for the public or even the Council. Not yet." The lights dimmed. A holographic star chart lit up the room, zooming into the outer edge of Alliance space. "This was taken yesterday," Hayes said. "A deep space anomaly near the Delarian Verge. It appears to be a Varn fleet node, likely a hidden logistics or command center." The image shifted to a rotating view of a dense metallic lattice surrounding a dark matter core. Varn ships orbited like wasps around a nest. "We estimate over 100 vessels. More worrying, we've intercepted communications, indicating that this is only one of 3 staging areas." "They're planning a coordinated strike," Darius said quietly. "Exactly," another voice chimed in. Admiral Trask, Earth Fleet's logistics commander. "If we hit them now before they mobilize, we can destabilize their entire invasion schedule. But we need a ghost, a ship that can slip in undetected, confirm intel, and if necessary, strike." All eyes turned to Darius. "The Aegis isn't indestructible," he said. "The coil is degrading. We can't keep relying on it for every engagement." "You won't be alone," Hayes said. "We're authorizing 2 support corvettes equipped with enhanced stealth and rapid extraction drives. They won't engage, but they'll be your eyes and your lifeline." Darius leaned forward. "When do we leave?" 72 hours. Enough time to rearm, reinforce, and gather final telemetry. The meeting ended with solemn handshakes and secure data uploads. Back on the Aegis, Elise met him outside his quarters. "Let me guess," she said. "We're going back out." "Something big is coming. They want us to find it first, maybe end it." She glanced at the ship beyond the viewport. "Then we better make sure the coil holds." The next 2 days passed in a blur. Engineers swarmed the ship. New armor plating was fused along weakened points. AI-assisted diagnostics combed every system. Earth Fleet brought in 2 prototype support corvettes, the Aerolite and the Spectre. Sleek, fast, and virtually invisible on scanners, they would follow the Aegis like shadows. On the eve of departure, the crew gathered in the mess hall. Bram stood with a mug of synth coffee, raising it high. To the Aegis, to old bones with new teeth, and to doing the impossible one more time. They drank, laughed, and shared a moment of peace. At 0600, the mission began. The Aegis moved through deep space like a shadow, trailed silently by the aerolite and the Spectre. The corvettes held position at extreme sensor range, bouncing signal reflections off stellar debris to remain hidden. Their mission was simple: observe, report, and extract the Aegis if everything went sideways. Inside the command center of the Aegis, the mood was focused but taut. Darius stood at the main display, watching the Delarian Verge come into sensor range. Clouds of dark energy rippled like oil on water. The stars themselves seemed to blur, distorted by gravity fields too complex for civilian systems to track. "We're picking up structured emissions," Sayid reported. "Definitely artificial. There's a Varn signature in there. Multiple sources." Elise added, "Matching with Alliance intelligence data. Power flux and formation patterns confirm a logistics and command hub. This is the real deal." Bram's voice echoed from engineering. "Coil's stable, but she won't like firing in that grav field. Expect some distortion. Might even knock out our own sensors for a while." "We'll deal with it. What about a recon sweep?" "Spectre has launched a stealth drone," Elise replied. "ETA on return is 4 hours. Should give us a full 3D map." The wait was agonizing. 4 hours in enemy-adjacent space felt like 4 days. The crew rotated watch, eyes fixed on flickering indicators. When the drone returned, it brought back more than telemetry. "Motion," Sayid called out. "They launched a scout, Varn long-range cruiser, heading on an intercept vector. They must have caught our drone's whisper trail. Can we cloak and drift?" "Not in this field," Bram warned. "Too unstable. We either run now or bluff." Darius stared at this display. "No, we fight. Activate threat projection mode." Elise turned to him surprised. "You're planning to reveal us?" "Yes, but not as ourselves." The Aegis's adaptive hull plates shifted. Its outline changed, growing more angular, mimicking the profile of a decommissioned Alliance warship class. The Hercules-type dreadnought. At the same time, they powered weapons and lit up the ship's external ID beacons with a scrambled designation. "Let them think we're a Ghost Fleet relic, an automated war hulk still running rogue patrols." The Varn scout ship slowed its approach. Static burst transmissions flared briefly, probing the Aegis's false signature. Then it turned away. "They're backing off," Sayid whispered. "Maybe they're not ready to tangle with a dreadnought." Darius nodded. "We just bought ourselves a window. Prepare for Phase 2. I want targeting solutions on their command station. We go in fast and hit hard." Bram's voice buzzed in again. "Captain, the coil can give us one good shot before it enters critical heat parameters. After that, we're down to conventional systems. Then we make it count." Outside, the Varn hub came into clearer view. Structures the size of cities rotated in geometric precision, tethered by energy bridges and shielded by arrays of defense satellites. This wasn't just a fleet dock, it was a mobile invasion forge. Elise inhaled sharply. "That station, it's not just logistics. They're growing ships, cloning reactor cores, mass-producing drive spines. This isn't a camp, it's a factory." Darius narrowed his eyes. "And it's time we shut it down." "Target solutions ready," Elise announced. "We have a narrow strike corridor through the satellite array. We'll need to move now before their scout loops back." Darius nodded, tension visible in his clenched jaw. "Bring the coil online. Bram, status?" "Spooling up. We're at 60% and climbing. Internal field stabilizers, compensating for external grav distortions." But not for long. Sayid locked onto the station's core node, a pulsing dark sphere suspended in the center of the lattice structure, feeding power to all auxiliary constructs. Core node targeted. Impact window, 11 seconds at full charge. The Aegis surged forward, breaking from cover. Alarms rang across the Varn network. Defensive satellites rotated, energizing weapon capacitors. Time to impact corridor, 20 seconds, Elise called out. Full shields, brace stations, Darius ordered. Once we fire, peel off to the left. Let Spectre and Aerolite feed us jamming fields. Coil at 94%. Field spike detected. We have no more than 30 seconds before environmental interference destabilizes the system, Bram warned. Darius took a breath. Do it! Fire! The Aegis unleashed. The Kessler coil lit up the void, not with color or sound, but with absolute absence. A beam of compressed reality folded toward the station, striking the core node. In a blink, the massive structure crumpled inward, imploding with a gravity shockwave that bent light. Target neutralized, Syed confirmed. Power signatures collapsing across the grid. Then came the retaliation. The nearest Varn warships opened fire. Beams of crackling violet energy streaked toward the Aegis. Shields flared and buckled. Warning klaxons erupted. Shields down to 52%, Elise shouted. Port stabilizer is gone. Peel away. Initiate jamming field convergence, Darius yelled. The Spectre and Aerolite moved into position, deploying clouds of microjammers that scattered Varn targeting data. The Aegis disappeared again into chaos. Helm, initiate skip-jump protocol. Coordinates preloaded, Elise said, clutching her station. Now before their second wave locks us. Spool initiated, Bram confirmed. We jump in 10. Outside, the remnants of the station were breaking apart. A chain reaction of destabilized gravity wells was tearing the hub to pieces. Varn ships scrambled, some fleeing, others exploding under the backlash. 3, 2, jump! Reality folded again. The Aegis, cracked and scorched, vanished. When they emerged, they were in Alliance space, safe for now. System stabilizing, Elise breathed. Hull at 68%. No fatal breaches. Darius exhaled. We just crippled their primary forge. The war's changed. The return to Alliance space was not triumphant. As the Aegis limped toward the nearest forward command post, Station Harkin, the crew worked around the clock to patch hull breaches and reroute damaged systems. Engineers welded bulkheads in low gravity. Medics treated burn victims. The ship itself groaned under stress, but it moved. They docked in silence. No honor guard, no applause. Only emergency crews in exosuits rushing to secure the airlock. It was war now. Every resource was a priority. Darius stepped off the ramp, soot-smudged and unshaven, greeted by Admiral Joel Rennick of Alliance Tactical. The old Tralkari officer looked at the Aegis, his eyes narrowing. You struck at the heart of the Varn's assembly hub. You realize what this means? They'll retaliate, Darius said simply. Yes, but first, they'll hesitate. Inside Harkin Command, the battle data was analyzed at lightning speed. The sensor readings from Spectre and Aerolite gave the Alliance its first complete schematic of a Varn mobile invasion forge. Combined with footage of the coil strike, it painted a picture too clear to ignore. The Council convened immediately. Emergency session. Darius, Elise, and Bram were summoned. The chamber was tense. No one laughed now. The Drenthari Chancellor began without pleasantries. Captain Cole, your actions have triggered a shift in Varn strategy. You violated operational treaties and deployed a classified weapon without oversight. We also prevented the destruction of a dozen outer colonies, Darius replied. An awkward pause. Then, unexpectedly, a voice from the Crystari delegation. I propose that the Aegis be placed under Alliance Joint Command for immediate deployment. The Varn must not be given time to regroup. A wave of murmurs swept through the chamber. Elise stepped forward. The Aegis was never built to be anyone's pawn. We act when others hesitate. That's why we've succeeded. Hayes entered then, unannounced, stepping into the spotlight. The Aegis operates with Earthfleet authority. However, we acknowledge the need for unified strategy. Earth will share oversight, but Captain Cole retains operational command. Agreement followed. A new task force was formed that day. Phantom Lance. Built around the Aegis and its support craft, the unit would strike Varn installations ahead of the main fleet, disrupting logistics in command nodes. The mission brief was clear. We bleed them until they can't fight back. The crew returned to the Aegis, their rest cut short. Bram supervised final coil diagnostics. Elise reprogrammed evasive algorithms. Said calibrated targeting vectors for long-range blind shots. As Darius prepared for departure, he stood in the dim light of the bridge and looked over his crew. "They thought we were obsolete," he said. "They called us a relic. But we are the blade in the dark, and we move now." Phantom Lance struck like lightning across the stars. With the Aegis at its core, the task force moved between sectors with surgical precision. The support ships, Aerolite, Spectre, and now 3 additional stealth corvettes, fanned out ahead, mapping routes, planting sensor disruptors, jamming Varn transmissions. The Varn retaliated as expected, but not where the Alliance expected. Instead of grand fleets and large-scale attacks, they struck with sabotage teams, raiding ships, and stealth infiltrators. And that played right into the Aegis's hands. Their first target, a Varn comms relay buried inside a neutron-rich asteroid field. The Varn used it to coordinate supply convoys across 10 sectors. The Aegis threaded that deadly maze, coil offline, stealth net stretched thin. "No room for error," Bram had said. "These fields are radioactive hell. We scrape one too hard, the ship lights up like a bonfire." But they succeeded. The relay went silent. Then came the orbital refinery at HFY, supplying fuel to 3 mobile battle groups. This time, Elise took point aboard the Spectre, leading a synchronized EMP assault that crippled the station's core. The refinery detonated from within, creating a kilometer-wide plasma storm that blocked all Varn reinforcement. Over and over, Phantom Lance hit, then vanished. In less than 3 weeks, 7 Varn strongholds were down. Convoys rerouted. Morale shattered. Reports came in of Varn commanders growing paranoid, executing their own for suspected sabotage. But the Aegis was not untouched. Every strike cost them. The hull was a patchwork of scarred plating. The coil, despite careful calibration, now showed signs of temporal drift, its micro wormholes bleeding off residual energy that defied containment. Bram brought it up late one cycle. "Captain, next time we fire the coil at full strength, it might not just erase the target. It might take part of us with it." "How long until we can replace the main array?" "We can't. The next version is still in prototype back on Earth." "We're it." Darius didn't flinch. "Then we use it only when we have no choice." At the end of the 3rd week, the Varn finally moved. Intelligence intercepted fragments of orders, coded with genetic locks and telepathic failsafes. But the message was clear. A Varn fleet was assembling at the edge of the Tau Electra system. "That system has 5 inhabited colonies," Elise said during the briefing. "Mostly scientists, terraformers, and refugees. They won't stand a chance." "What's the time frame?" Darius asked. "They'll reach orbit in under 36 hours. Phantom Lance is the only unit within striking distance." He stood slowly. "Then we go. One last strike, the biggest yet." Phantom Lance entered the Tau Electra system under full stealth. The Aegis led the formation, its damaged hull patched but still far from pristine. The coil was offline, sealed under reinforced armor. This time they would fight conventionally. There would be no second chances. The Varn fleet was larger than expected. 57 vessels, Elise whispered. 2 super dreadnoughts, 15 destroyers, and the rest are cruisers and support ships. Darius stood at the main display, his eyes fixed on the slowly rotating formation. "Are the colonies evacuating?" "Not fast enough," Bram replied. "Local jump capacity is limited. If we don't hold them off for at least 4 hours, millions will die. Then we hold." Orders were given. The corvettes split off to harass the Varn's flanks, drawing fire and disrupting sensor locks. The Aegis moved in a wide arc to flank the central dreadnought. The battle erupted like a sunburst. Beams crisscrossed space. Torpedoes chased warships. ECM clouds blinded both sides. The Aegis opened fire with rail cannons and arc blasters, weaving between debris and enemy formations. Elise shouted over the din. "Shields holding at 63%. Hull plating at critical points reinforced. We can make another pass," Bram called up. "Capacitor burst in engine 2. Rerouting. We'll lose some speed." Maintain vector, Darius commanded. Our job isn't to win, it's to outlast. Suddenly, the Spectre was hit. The sleek Corvette spun out of control, trailing plasma. Emergency beacon active, Said reported, but they're not responding to hails. Darius gritted his teeth. Mark their position. We extract later. Focus now. A Varn destroyer moved into their path, weapons hot. Direct impact in 15 seconds, Elise warned. Darius leaned forward. Target their forward coil array. Aim for the seam in the plating. Fire when ready. The Aegis loosed a burst of precision fire. The destroyer convulsed, its shields failing. An explosion tore through its midsection, ripping it apart. Good hit. Target destroyed. But more ships came. 2 cruisers peeled from the main fleet, surrounding them. Brace! Elise shouted. The Aegis shook violently. Sparks flew. Warning sirens howled. Shields at 20%. Reactor temperature climbing. Darius turned to Bram. Is there any chance the coil can give us a final burst? Bram hesitated, then nodded. Maybe. A short pulse. Enough to knock out 1 capital ship. If we time it perfectly. Darius looked at the dreadnought advancing on the colony. Do it. 1 last shot. The Kessler coil hummed with unstable resonance. The damaged core pulsed erratically as Bram coaxed it through a partial charge cycle, pushing it further than ever before. Compression at 45%, Bram reported, sweat on his brow. We can pulse it, but it'll burn the containment grid. This is it. Darius stood firm. Target that dreadnought. We buy the colonies the time they need, no matter what happens to us. Said narrowed the targeting lock. Reading multiple layers of shielding, we'll need the shot to pierce all 3 hull sections simultaneously. We don't need to destroy it completely, Darius said. Just cripple the core. Let chaos handle the rest. The bridge flickered under another hit. Damage reports scrolled like a waterfall. 71% of primary systems compromised, Elise called. Shields are nearly gone. Fire, Darius ordered. The coil unleashed 1 final pulse. It wasn't as clean as before. The energy arced, distorted by the broken containment shell. But it hit. The Varn dreadnought was struck dead center. A chain reaction of ruptures followed. The dreadnought lurched, power surging unevenly, then imploded inward, collapsing like a dying star. A shockwave rippled through nearby Varn ships, knocking systems offline. Direct hit, Said whispered. She's going down. Status of the coil? Darius asked. Offline, Bram replied. Fully discharged. We won't fire it again. The battlefield shifted. With their flagship lost, the Varn fleet hesitated, then fractured. Some turned tail. Others fired wildly, unsure of their command chain. Phantom Lance regrouped, exploiting the chaos. We've got comms from Tau Electric Control, Elise said. Evacuation is complete. They're in the clear. Cheers erupted across the bridge. As the Varn fleet began full retreat, Darius slumped into his chair. Status of the Spectre? Recovered, Said confirmed. Crew injured but alive. Extraction underway. The Aegis, battered but not broken, drifted through the aftermath. Debris floated silently. Fires dimmed. The storm had passed. Back in Alliance space, the Council met once more. But this time there were no accusations, no laughter, only silence and awe. The Aegis had become more than a ship. It was a symbol of defiance, of innovation, of what humanity could bring when underestimated. Admiral Hayes stood before the chamber. Earth will begin construction of a new fleet, Mockingbird-class vessels, adaptive, unorthodox, and battle-proven, led by Admiral Darius Cole. Thunderous applause followed. Later, standing at the Aegis's observation deck, Darius watched stars streak past. Elise joined him. They laughed at us, she said. He smiled. Then we fired once. She nodded, voice soft. And silence followed. The stars awaited. End